Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Ah, okay. So yeah, I decided to do abandon Godot and switch on our engine. That's true. It's just literally decided not today. So it's I'll probably start by explaining why I decided on that. And hello, Taras. How are you doing? So why I decided on that? There are a few reasons for that. First reason, I barely have anything of the game yet, so it's not like I have lots of baggage to port from one area to the other. It's just, hey, create a new project, and this is enough changes that I can just start from scratch, basically. Another reason is that um, I'm basically, not enjoying making pixel art, and that kind of I know takes fun out of the project for me. Don't know why. Just not enjoying it. For me, it's more enjoyable to actually make a very simplistic, untextured 3D model and put some materials that make it look a little bit nicer. And I know it can take more time and whatnot, but I don't know. Pixar art just sometimes makes me angry, and I want to avoid that kind of feeling as much as I can because, if I'll be making a game, it'll probably take 2 years or something. So I don't want to go through 2 years of that. And because it might take 2 years to make a game or something, if I ever get to the point where it will actually become a real game and, I'll need to focus on making content, the thing is that I know that future games that I'll want to make will be basically Unreal Engine. They'll be 3D because I have mostly ideas for games that come to my mind are usually 3D games. That's what I'm used to. I'm not a retro game gamer. I'm not as much into platformers per se and all that stuff. So, my ideas are in 3D. And if I'm going to be working with a specific set of tools for next 2 years on a game that I don't anticipate this to be a top-notch game. This will be a game. If I'm gonna get to the point where it's mediocre, I will be like, wow, I actually made a game that isn't bad. Hopefully, so I'd rather invest those 2 years in learning the tools that I will be using for the rest of my gaming journey, at least for now, until Unreal Engine goes away. Don't know if that's gonna happen or when that's gonna happen. But it's a big investment of time and learning into something. And figured, you know what? I can see this game being 3D. It's something that will probably make me comfortable. It's something that I can see as an opportunity to learn more. So that's why I decided to just make a switch, so that I'm not frustrated by all the 2D-ness of things, and I can just work with 3D and therefore having more of a simulated world rather than something else. I don't know, just something that makes me more comfortable. So yeah, that's that. So now the game won't be a top-down thingy. I will actually want to make it first person. All the rules still apply. You still build your ship out, whatever ship I call it ship. Build your base out, and base still crawls up. You can still mine resources from the wall that you're traversing. You still shoot out, different various things that try to attack your base, and the only difference is it's just from the first person perspective, so it'll be kind of more fun, and we'll probably actually make it add some more freedom to how you want to build your base, how to arrange things there, and maybe a little bit more fun from my perspective that, okay, if I have several items, maybe some kind of weapon, or I don't know, mining resources. First thing that comes to my mind, you just aim at it and shoot your grappling hook, and if you aim correctly, it's gonna bring it to you. Something that can be done in a way that it, gives that nice satisfaction of shooting that thing of a chain and some nice clunky metal sounds that just come back, and you have that 3D item that you brought with yourself, that it brought or whatever. It could be fun. I know that I don't want to go into a lot of, fancy animations and whatnot. Not that kind of a game. And graphics won't be, full of textures. If I'll be adding textures, I will probably make it a little bit more in a pixelated style. But it'll be 3D objects, and I might actually use more of Unreal Engine's Nanite so that I can just have more geometry. And shading, and maybe some details will come just from the geometry rather than fancy textures. And this way, even less work for me. So that's that. Yeah, so basically I need to start from scratch. So what can we do? So I'm gonna switch to the screen so that we go to the normal development stuff, okay? And what's up, Taras? How are you doing? Probably enjoying the last hours of the long weekend, right? So the first thing that we'll need to do is a repository, because we'll be doing stuff in Unreal Engine. I decided that we won't be using GitHub, because I don't want to feel restricted that, I can't go over 1 gigabyte of, whatever is allowed in a GitHub repository, and it's slowing down and whatnot. So we're gonna try self-hosted GitLab. And I think I already deployed that once for my own purpose. So let me see if I can figure out how to get there. Okay. So let's go to this tab and go in here. And let's see if I can figure out how to actually get there. This is, again, self-hosted, so I'm not doing anything fancy here. There we go. Save password, never. Okay. So that's what GitLab looks like, right? I used it once for a tutorial and something that I wanted to make at some point, started making. 10 months ago. Just tinkering, so nothing really interesting. So we're gonna start a new project. Blank project. There we go. What are we going to name it? The Long Climb. Or project slag, like this. There we go. So in the name, we can actually add spaces, which is extra fancy. Sure, private. Okay. Sure, we're gonna have some README. What else? Static application security testing. No, thank you. We don't need anything like that. Is that gonna be it? Has auto DevOps pipeline has been enabled and will be used if no alternative CI configuration is found. Okay, great. Don't care. Great. Already takes up 3 kilobytes of space. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna clone it. Let's copy this thingy over SSH or HTTP. Let's do HTTP, and I should be able to configure it here. Did I have problems with GitHub? Not really. I just know that when working with Unreal Engine, some files might take hundreds of megabytes. Let's say at some point I'm gonna make some textures. There will be, 4K or 8K textures, 8192 by 8192 textures. When they will be probably stored by Unreal Engine somewhat uncompressed size, it'll maybe sometimes then, it takes 100 to 100 megabytes just for one texture. So it's a lot. So that's why GitLab, because all the data is basically on one of my servers running here at my computer at my home. my home network, so this way I won't have a situation where, suddenly, yeah, get LFS. Exactly. I mean, this will use it. The problem is that GitHub has internal soft limit of 1 GB of storage per repository. If you go over that, it might be weird. Sometimes it becomes slow, and you might get weird issues. Here, at least, I'll be uploading with 10 gigabit speed, so you know, uh, I'll have things working relatively fast because it's all local. And for Toby is asking, why did you switch? I'm switching because A, it's a brand new project, so I'm just starting from scratch. B, I'm actually enjoying more working with 3D. And working on pixel art assets just makes me really angry at sometimes. At some points, managing the palette and a bunch of other stuff. I get better results from just making some kind of 3D models and making things that way. And I know that I want future games. I want to also make 3D. So I want to basically have that. Yeah, it's a new game. I just spent maybe 12 hours on it so far in Godot. And the last reason was basically that I want to use this game as an opportunity to finally learn Unreal Engine, properly. When streaming forces me to actually sit down, focus on a task, and properly learn it, so that my future games, I'll be able to just, hey, I'm gonna go for Unreal Engine because I already know it, rather than I'm gonna go for Unreal Engine because I have hopes that I'm gonna learn it to the point where I'm a little bit more comfortable, which is kind of not fun. So let's do this. Clone a repo. Bam. Oh, this is gonna collide with the old one. And I had, the icons. UI border, and no, thank you. Discard, and I'm just gonna straight up delete that folder. The long climb. Bam. Oh. What is using it? This is using it. Anything else is using it? Git itself? Yep. Okay. One more attempt at cloning. Was the 3D stuff not capable for a game? As in Godot, during the game jam, the GMTK and game jam, I was working a 3D game in Godot, and I just kind of didn't enjoy it. I did some stuff on Unreal Engine before, and I'm just used to the fact that you put something in there and it just looks nice. It's an engine that for over 20 years was focused on 3D, and all the tools are around 3D. And for Toby's says, just asking because I am a beginner and wanted to start my first 3D project in Godot. If you didn't do much with 3D before or with game dev, unless you have solid background in 3D art and a bunch of other stuff, I would probably say go with Godot, because it has those simpler tools that maybe don't make things look pretty, but they work, it will be probably easier for you to start with. With Unreal Engine, the thing is that you have, in Godot, when you import a 3D model to the engine, you have maybe, 5 settings, 5 checkboxes. With Unreal Engine, you probably have a few hundred. So it's just, every tool can be really overwhelming. So for starting out, definitely go with oh, no, I need to put it here. Great. Where'd it go? I think I used the same stuff, right? Log in, please work. Open now. Okay, that worked. Great. We have Git repo. So we can start out a new project, right? We launch the Unreal Engine, just updated to 5.4.4. It's of course gonna open up in the wrong monitor. Which monitor? What's going on? Come on. Thinking. Something starting up. There we go. So like I said, it will be a 3D project. I'm gonna start it using blueprints, not C++. At some point, I'm gonna convert it to C++. I just want there's a single reason behind it. Let's go games, first person, 3D. I'm gonna go with blueprint because this way the main control will be set up with blueprints rather than with C++. Therefore, if I want to make any modification to the player, I don't have to base it on a C++ class. I can just start from blueprints, and then you have just one click to convert the whole project to C++ to enable that functionality. For Toby says, okay, thanks. I don't have any background in coding and started in Godot like 6 months ago, just making some 2D stuff and learning GD script. Okay, definitely Godot then. GD script is really nice because it takes so much from Python, where you don't need to worry about types too much. You can kind of, bend the rules a little bit and just get things done. With you'll see in a second, with Unreal Engine, you can use blueprints, which, by the way, you can make whole games using blueprints. But if you want to do more advanced stuff or customize some features, you need to do C++, and it's not just learning C++, which is a difficult language on its own. You also have like custom versions of C++ with so many features and ways that Unreal Engine forces you to do things that it's just kind of is overwhelming again if you're just starting. Okay, so what are we doing? We're going to repos. What was it? The long climb, and we're gonna make the project in a new folder. We're gonna make it UE project. Okay, that's how I'm gonna name the folder, because in our repository we're gonna have the folder where we keep the whole actual game project of Unreal, but we're gonna keep a separate folder, maybe like raw assets, where we'll have our blend files, where we have our, Photoshop files for graphics or whatever we're gonna use, and maybe docs and other stuff, so that it's not gonna be inside the game project. So we'll select this folder. The name of the project will be The Long Climb. Oh, it can't have spaces in it. Okay, sure. There we go. Gonna plop it there. Blueprints, I'm gonna make it desktop, maximum, starter content, and I want ray tracing. Because we're gonna go fancy. We're gonna use Lumen and Nanite, so all the fun stuff, and this way will actually simplify some of the 3D stuff. Because with Nanite, we don't have to worry too much about making low poly models or making the many variants of 3D models, which is awesome. And if you put too much detail somewhere, it's gonna solve itself out. And Lumen, which works great with that. This way we don't have to worry about baking in the lighting, because the game will allow you to build the base piece by piece. The lighting will work just fine on its own, and we'll be able to make fun things like, for example, your power went down, all right? All the lights inside went off, it's dark, you need to get a flashlight, and you suddenly have really nice reflections and whatever, like cool vibe to the whole thing. And again, less dealing with lighting, it just works, which is the nice thing about Unreal Engine. And another nice thing is that it's kind of slow to start initially. Compiling shaders is much shorter now. It's not like 7,000 as it was at some point. So we're already down to only 300. And I think my graphics card is kind of broken. And sometimes just engine might crash on us, so sorry about that. I need to get a new graphics card, but I'm waiting for the new 5000 series from NVIDIA to come out. Which, I don't know when. It would be nice if the 5080 or something came out, because that would be something to buy. I don't want to spend money on like 5090. That would be just... I don't have that much money. Right now I have 3080 Ti. Yeah, 3080 Ti. So it's not anything weak. It's enough for me to do my things. It's just I'm getting ready for it to just go dead. Because right now I already have a bunch of issues where if a computer goes to sleep, you know, your monitors turn off. When it wakes up, sometimes some monitors turn on, sometimes they won't. With different computer it works fine. So yeah, this graphics card is kind of wonky. We'll see. Okay, why do I have content browser separate? There we go. So we've got a new project. I'm gonna save it. And the first thing I'm gonna do is just push that code, okay? So we are beyond that. But something tells me we don't... Oh, see, we have saved intermediate content config. That's the not nice part about Unreal Engine. It doesn't generate the .getignore file on its own. It expects you to know what you're doing. That's the thing. Unreal Engine expects you to know what you're doing. For Toby says still running the 1070 Ti. Hi. For basic stuff it works, right? Not a big deal. Yeah, I needed to buy a computer 3 years ago and just got something that will get me through the next 3-4 years or something. I do a lot with my computer, so that was a package. Actually, that's the first time where I actually bought ready-made computer, like off the shelf. So, and it was during the time where graphics cards were so expensive that you know, what was it, 2022 or something? 2021? I don't remember now. And it was just way cheaper to buy a computer like ready-made, because if I looked and if I would assemble it from my own pieces, it would be actually cost more. So, yeah. What the hell am I looking for? Ah, I remember. We need the gitignore file. So I have a theory. If we're gonna go to homepage. Oh, there we go. Survival tutorial. We have gitignore. There we go. Let's copy our gitignore and we're just gonna plop it here. Okay. We actually need to plop it here. New text file and .gitignore. Yes, I can actually open with code. And this is our .gitignore. And we actually need another file, get attributes, or we don't. Get attributes. The whole thing, so that it actually enables LFS on most of the content. Other than, I guess, the US or something. Or maybe on them too. Yeah, this way things will be a little bit more optimized for Git. Again, part of some long forgotten tutorial. Okay, so this will be .git attributes. Okay, what is it? All files. Yeah, save. That should be it. Now Git should wake up and see like, oh, there's way less file to add. It says to create new Unreal Engine project. For Toby says it's a real reliable card. Have it till release. Yeah, since release, it still runs so smooth. Sometimes I'm very surprised that it still runs all the games I play. Nice. 3:30 a.m. over there. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Have a good night. I'll be here for the next few hours, but definitely not till you wake up. All right. Thank you for following. It was nice chatting with you. Have a good night. Okie dokes. So create new Unreal projects, and what we have already new project is 430 files. What? Oh, I know why. Because we have all the starter content. Like starter content is 200 files, architecture, audio. So maybe before we commit it, let's just see what's in here. What is there something we will use? Because I forgot that we clicked to include starter content. Sorry that all the text is so small. It's just if I'm gonna make a font larger, Unreal gets a little wonky, and it's difficult for me to use it. So hopefully this is gonna be somewhat readable to figure out what the hell's happening. So what do I have here? Content. We have first person. Starter content. We have architecture. Crap. Delete. What's being used? Advanced lighting. Oh, and those starter map. Oh, really? We are in a first person map. We don't care about lighting. Wait, we have those scenes here? What the heck? I don't recall anything like that. Maps. Advanced lighting. Oh, it's just great. Just don't care about that part. No, thank you. What else? Minimal default. Oh, wow. I forgot that this still exists. That's a throwback to early Unreal Engine 4 for me. And the starter map is gonna be probably... Oh, that one. That still exists. Huh. So that's what the 420 files is. All the textures, all the default materials that I don't really care about. Huh. So yeah. Tara says, I have started working on a UI for stacks. Oh, after making some tweaks over the weekend. That's awesome. You're making, I recall you were saying that you were making it in Flutter, right? You're not doing terminal stuff? Too much of terminal stuff available already, right? All right. I'll be happy to check it out at some point. First part the console. You're making a console in a Flutter app? Okay. I see. I see what you're doing. Oh, there's a pane of glass here. Huh. That's funny. Okay, so we don't want any of those effects, any things. We can always import them. I probably have 30 million other assets. So let's do it this way. I'm gonna go back to the first person map. Okay, back to this one, because this is where we're gonna start. And I'm gonna delete those test maps. Delete. Yep. And the thing with Unreal Engine 4 is that, unlike Godot, it tracks what asset is depending on what other asset, and therefore you can't just delete. It will tell you, hey, this depends on that and that. If I would right click something, I can leave, what is it here? Asset actions, you can migrate it and do other stuff. Reference viewer, there we go. So it has like a whole separate node view where you can see that this blueprint wall sconce depends on the static model lamp wall. And if I double click that, you can see that this also depends on this material. This material, on the other hand, depends on those two textures. Okay? While this lamp material is also used by this lamp material, which is also used by this blueprint. So yeah, you can kind of traverse or something. If I will, can I do like search reference depth? 10. Okay. 10. Okay. So I can see everything that makes up that thing. So in Unreal Engine, if I would want to use the lamp in some other project, I can right click, asset migration, asset actions migrate, and it will grab not only that lamp, but all the textures and everything that's needed to make the lamp work somewhere else. And that's the difference versus Godot or something like Unity. and that's something I like. Things don't break on their own too much. Even though initially it might seem like that's the case, but not really. It's quite resilient. Okay, so what the hell we're doing here? Architecture. Delete. I don't want this stuff. Yep. There we go. Audio. Not really. Delete. Oh, it's being used in some effects and blueprint classes. Ah, so we have those blueprints, like those ready-made lights, some studio lights, the steam effects and whatnot. Okay, I see. Get rid of those and some other random stuff. Delete, delete, delete. We're going on delete frenzy. And now we should be able to delete the audio. Yes. HDRI, I don't care. Materials, I don't care. We're gonna make our own. We're starting really simple. Oh, and we have the props, which is just some chairs, benches, and other statue stairs. No, not really. We can make our own as well. Okay. So, particles, delete. Yep. Shapes and textures. All those can go away. Yeah. Just force delete all of them. Yeah, the whole starter content. We're just deleting that, okay? None of that exists now. And the other thing to remember about Unreal Engine is that you can enable showing specific thing, which is other filters. Yeah, because you can actually versus modified files, checked out, writable, and a bunch of other things. But there was somewhere, I don't remember where now. Maybe here in settings. There were those funny little. Because Unreal Engine, when you delete something or move some stuff around, it actually creates temporary small files in the place of the old one called redirector, so that if you made some changes, moved stuff around, and checked in your code, that file will go in there, and somebody on somebody else's computer, those changes didn't catch up for some reason, it's gonna find that whatever relocator or something file instead of the file it was looking for, and it would therefore will know where the file was moved, so you can clean them up from time to time. I don't see that filter, but I believe we should be able to just right click here, and there was something like clear up. What is it? Update redirector references. Finds references to all redirectors and the selected items and resaves their referencing assets if possible, so that they reference the target of the redirector directly instead. Therefore, it's gonna clean everything up. Yes. Failed to load some assets. Oh, great. Really? Failed to find object. Game, FP1, mesh, the gun. Why? It shouldn't be in the starting content. Can I play the game still? Yeah. Oh, wow, that was loud. Holy moly. Okay, the game works, so I don't care. Now when we get back to Git, we can see that we just removed 267 files. Beautiful. So our initial project setup will be under 163 files. So bam, push it, and just like that, we push some data. Okay, next thing I want to make is so that my preview is not real time. This way, this is a nice setting to save your computer some effort, because right now, if I would have it real time, this works like a normal game. This viewport just is updated at all times. Okay? You can see the clouds moving very slowly. Okay? If I'll make it not real time, it doesn't re-render this frame all like, 60 times per second or whatever, 120, I guess. It just refreshes it only when I actually move it, which is nice for streaming because my computer isn't on fire nonstop. And Blood is asking, is Game Maker good for starters? I'm trying to work on 2D projects. Hi. Hello to you too. I mean, Game Maker is pretty respectable, depending on your idea. What kind of 2D project? You can easily make basic games. An extreme example is Hyper Light Drifter. The game. Let's go to the tab. Hyper Light Drifter. Okay. Do we have some videos somewhere? Gameplay overview. A game like this was made in a Game Maker, but the thing is that this is like an extreme case, extreme example, because this is used at an expert level. So I wouldn't expect you to get to that point. Yeah. Like Castlevania. I never played Castlevania, to be honest. Castlevania game. Okay, so there's lots of Castlevania games. Something like that, maybe? Oh yeah, you could definitely use Game Maker. If you're not going for advanced stuff, it could be a good starting out where you get used to, how to work with 2D graphics, maybe, how to prep some sounds for that, how to have basic logic in the game to make some basic things work. Definitely go for it. If at some point you will start noticing that, you know what, I wish I could do this, but it's kind of difficult, or maybe I would like to do that other thing, or whatnot, then you might think like, you know what, maybe I'm gonna try Godot and see if that would work for you. Because at that point you might be ready to actually get understand enough of the basics of game dev to actually realize that to actually soak in that knowledge. Because the moment you start with Godot tutorials, you're gonna be bombarded by a million ways to do something, and the more you already know, the easier it will be to just get through it and understand why things are happening. Or if you go from Game Maker to Godot, then you actually start understanding why specific things were happening, were constructed this way or that way in Game Maker. So yeah, I would encourage Game Maker. It will get you going, All right, so what I was doing here. First of all, not real time. Let's just go through the settings of the project, okay? Project settings. I want to see what the hell's going on. I don't have a thumbnail, no description, project name. The long climb. Okay. I hope I'm helping. I'm not giving you bad advice. I hope. At least if I will be starting out, I would be trying hard to tell that to myself. As you can see, I'm switching from Godot to Unreal Engine because I'm kind of like, I like the challenge. And I mean, I used Unreal Engine before, and that's why probably it's not a big deal for me as much. Okay, legal, displayed, all the settings. Should window preserve aspect ratio? Start in VR? No. That's the thing about the Unreal Engine. That's the first page of settings, right? And then we have all those other pages of settings. If we go to, for example, something like rendering inside engine, it's that many settings, okay? And that's just that. And you have some of them vary depending on platform and whatever. Just so much. So that's just the basic stuff. I'll maximize all that stuff. Sure. I offset for fake stereo rendering device. You won't find that in Godot. Encryption, gameplay tags, maps and modes. We start in this one. What is the default game mode? So that's the thing with Unreal Engine. You need to learn kind of basic components of the game, because you have game mode, you have pawns, you have player controller, you have uh, yeah, you have game mode and you have some other stuff. I don't even remember now. It's like this whole hierarchy of things. It's just crazy. Um, yeah. Okay, so we don't worry about that too much. We just gonna play around with the starter stuff first. And Blood says, I hate. You hate UE because Unreal Engine because so many companies can't optimize games well. Yeah, it's just the truth is that games take so much time to make, and many companies just, you know, they're pushed by so many factors to just get this game out and released already. Because often it can take, 5 years of working on a game, which is crazy. But by the fifth year, imagine you're working on the same thing, on the same game. You're basically playing the same game for 5 years straight. You're going to be sick of it. So game developers are just sick of the game already, working on it. You have all the management seeing that the money is still being poured into the thing because every month they need to pay all the developers, all their salaries, all the artists, all the other management. It's just, and because of that, games are pushed out without enough testing that everything works on everything because, each graphics card, each computer configuration, it all just changes so much. And therefore, there's not enough for testing and optimizing things. You're lucky if they will be updating it afterwards. So, yeah. And that's why actually I'm going with Unreal Engine, because I know that the game will run roughly the same on every computer. Roughly. And as long as I'm not doing some kind of custom rendering, custom crazy stuff, and limit myself just to using the systems that already exist in the game, I actually don't have to worry about that. I will not work on console. I know it will work on all the computers, and yeah. Wuthering Wave, that's a great example. Haven't heard of Wuthering Wave, but yeah, I can see that, things aren't optimized. 100% can see that. Played some games that were just horrible in the beginning. Packaging, supported platforms. No, not all platforms. All I want right now is I want to support Linux and Windows, in theory, with this game. I will disable everything else. I'm actually gonna disable Linux, just Windows, so just in case I won't have extra options. Target hardware, whatever. Asset manager, all that stays the same. AI system, yeah, because Unreal Engine comes with so many tools. Animation, audio, chaos solver, cinematic camera, collision console. Is there something I care about here? Enhanced input, of course. Yeah. Games, garbage collection, all that stuff. General settings. Okay. Just roughly going through all those settings so that I can stop afterwards. Okay. Yeah, this is frame rates and all that stuff. Okay, makes sense. All right. LODs and input. That's the old one. I don't care about the old one. Anything interesting here? Rendering. Let's just go through rendering. Forward. Yep. Cluster reflections, mobile, not mobile, blah blah blah. Materials. I'm not gonna use a clear coat. All this stuff. Occlusion culling, of course, that's good for performance. Texture streaming. Whether to use DXT5 for normal maps, otherwise BC5 will be used, which is not supported or checking this setting. I'm gonna leave it the way it is. Virtual texture support. Textures can be streamed using the virtual texture system. Changing the setting requires restarting the editor. I'm not gonna check it on yet. I'm gonna check it as on when I learn more about it, when I feel there's a need for that. We will have barely any texture, so I don't think we need to worry about texture streaming. Color space, global illumination, lumen, of course. Global clip plane, nope. Use hardware ray tracing when available. I'm not gonna enable that, or should I? Hardware ray tracing has significant scene update costs for scenes with more than 100,000 instances. We are not going to have 100,000 instances. That's nuts. That's for when you have 100,000 trees. Yeah, Unreal Engine is beautiful, absolutely. And it doesn't take a lot of work to make things look pretty. That's the nice thing about it. Blah, blah, blah. Shadow map method, virtual shadow maps, that's awesome. Don't want ray trace shadows because that can some kind of make some weird artifacts with nanite meshes, I noticed at some point. So I'm gonna leave that as a default. And nanite, of course we want that. Static lighting, no. No such thing as static lighting. This is for when we would like to have things baked, baked lighting, and if we would disable lumen or something, I'm gonna disable that completely. And this way we won't have, possibility of having static lighting, which is again, less stuff for the engine to process. But we'll just need to enter the restart to start up without support for it. Blah, blah, blah. We don't worry about VR, although that game could be fun in VR. I can see turning into a VR game. That would be fun. Although on a stream will look very strange. I'm in conclusion, all that stuff. Yep, default settings. Sure. Default settings, I'm turning off motion blur. It's the worst thing ever. Absolutely hate it. Motion blur is good for console games where games can't run more than 30 frames per second. But says bye. Hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having a great day/night as well. Thank you for hanging out. Okay, what's now? Optimizations. Oh, maybe those game developers they release so unoptimized games because maybe they checked off everything, turned off all the optimizations. Selectively enable particle cutouts, all that stuff. So many settings. Different lighting uses, blah blah blah. Mesh streaming. When enabled, mesh LODs will stream in based on what is visible on screen. I think that's already taken care of by Nanite, because Nanite has its own streaming. Okay. Heterogeneous. Heterogeneous volumes. Experimental. Enable rendering with the heterogeneous volumes subsystem. Interesting. No idea what that is. It's experimental, so I'm not gonna enable it yet. We'll learn more about it as it's being worked on. Substrate materials. I don't need that. This is for having multiple layers of materials. That will be fun if you're making actually like photorealistic game, then hell yeah. Mobile shader permutation reduction. Sure, we're not doing mobile anyway. Okay. Looks like we went through rendering. Slate is their UI system. Again, lots of stuff to learn there. User interface, world partition. We won't be using world partition here. World partition is nice if you have, gigantic world with, made of, square miles of land. It automatically partitions world into smaller levels, how to divide them up. It just saves so much work if you take time to learn it. But in our case, we don't have to worry. Even though our platform is going to be moving this whole game or whatever, Unreal Engine uses double, double precision floating point numbers for locations, so you can basically fit the whole solar system in a game world without glitches, which is cool. No Unity nor Godot support that. Actually, CryEngine doesn't support that either, but creators of Star Citizen, they actually implemented that in the engine. That was a massive amount of work, and that's why they can have such amazing, flying onto the planets, because they just have double precision floating point numbers for location. You just get that from an Unreal Engine for free. Awesome. Editor, that's for project. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch more here until we'll actually have need for something. So we close it, we click restart now, because we made some changes that will, require the restart. Okay. Oh, now we have 2,000 shaders to recompile because we changed some settings. Oh, because we removed the static lighting, possibility of static lighting. Therefore, now we need to recompile all the shaders so that shaders are actually smaller now, because they don't have to have instruction set for handling static lighting. So we actually, by disabling it, we optimize our game a little bit. Okay. In the meantime, what's going on here? We changed a few things. Default engine, default game, and a new project. There we go. So we do that, and we'll be update basic project settings. Okay. Let's push the changes. There we go. So I'm gonna create a new branch, and I'm gonna call it something simple. Because the first thing will be to... what should we do first? I mean, the first thing will be to kind of create few first assets so we can move around. And have just basic player, which we already have, so that's another thing we don't have to do. And yeah, I guess we're gonna make a few simple 3D models. Just to have stuff around to build some basic ship out of. Okay, this reloaded. So what I can do here, where's Git? Let's name a branch, import dev assets. Okay, so let's make some development assets. Okay. So the thing with Unreal Engine is that its coordinate system, it's in centimeters. So 1 unit in a game is 1 centimeter, which is roughly that much. And that's kind of nice that it's actually specifying some specific unit. It's not just 1 or something. If I click on this, its location, it shows numbers, but it actually means centimeters. Okay. Let me just make sure the game works. Okay, the game works. We can jump. We actually have hands or something. And we can shoot. And that shooting affects things. And we have nice lumen lighting where you can see the shadows, the corners getting dark and everything, which is really nice. If I'll get this a little bit closer to the wall. you'll see that the walls start getting a little bit of blue from the cube. And yeah, we've got some basic sky and stuff like that. So yeah, we've got the basics going. And I don't think we'll need any specific oh, I guess player has some weight. We don't need any specific setup for the player to be able to move around, because that's already built into Unreal Engine. Although the new mover plugin is being developed, which is awesome because it's gonna be a big upgrade, especially for multiplayer. And yeah, that's our start. We already have also system for skeleton mesh that can hold something that makes some actions when you play, right? And we'll be able to expand on that so that we can, you know, pick something up, move it, maybe have a flashlight or something. I mean, nothing would stop us to just go to the first person blueprint, and this will be our pickup rifle, right? You can double click on it, plop it here. There was some setting in the editor preferences. Can search for tab. Keyboard shortcuts, loading, saving, content editors. Yeah.